A changing of the guard is looming in the Australian Senate. From next month, the Greens will hold the balance of power in their own right. And for the first time, there'll be a Green senator from Queensland in the upper house. Larissa Waters is a Brisbane mother, an environmental lawyer, and is about to be handed a great deal of political influence. So how does she plan to use it? I spoke with her earlier to find out. Larissa Waters, as you prepare to take your seat in the upper house, what do you consider your top priority? What would you like to achieve?
Well, advocating the interests of Queenslanders and standing up for the community. Unfortunately, we haven't had a minor party senator representing Queensland for quite a few years now, so it's important to give the people that alternative voice, that progressive voice. But apart from that, I really want to see action on climate change to help protect the Great Barrier Reef. We've got this wonderful icon on our doorstep that is a huge employer. 67,000 people rely on the Great Barrier Reef for work, for their livelihood. So if I can be part of getting a carbon price, a price on pollution that will help protect the Great Barrier Reef, then I'll be a very happy woman.
Does the federal government's proposed carbon tax give you that action on climate change that you're looking for?
Look, I think it will. Obviously, the details are still being negotiated at the moment, but I'm hoping that it will be significantly better than the last scheme, which we couldn't support because it wasn't going to deliver on climate outcomes. And along with other measures like a renewable energy target, good support for energy efficiency, federal funding for public transport, I think with that suite of measures we'll finally see positive action to try and halt climate change.
What about for Queenslanders, though, who are concerned about the potential for job losses and increases to costs of living?
Look, we share those concerns and we certainly don't want to see jobs lost, but I think we need to be prepared for the time when the world doesn't want our coal anymore. Now, that might happen in 20 or 30 years, but we need to start that transition now so that there's not massive job losses. So that's what we'd like to see, retraining people into new clean industries so that they still have work, but their work's in clean energy rather than old coal. And in terms of cost of living, we really share those concerns. This is something that we all face in our everyday lives. And the good news is that we're pushing for the proceeds of that pollution price to be given back to households.
Can I ask you about a couple of other big issues that are around at the moment, so Queenslanders are clear on where you stand? Coal seam gas, is there a place for that industry in Queensland?
Look, it's a very risky industry, Jess, and we don't know enough about it. And unfortunately, at the moment, it's happening on our best food-producing land. And we don't have a lot of that in Queensland. There's only about 2.2% of Queensland that's considered good quality farmland, and that's right where the coal seam gas miners want to go. And you can't do both on one plot of land. So we're really concerned about the food security impacts, and we're also really concerned about the groundwater impacts. So when there's this huge uncertainty, it beggars belief as to why they're going ahead and approving it anyway.
Well, it's worth billions of dollars to the Queensland economy. Is that money that the state can afford to forego?
Well, look, what price food security, what price groundwater, what price species and what price our rural communities? I mean, is it worth losing those things? I don't think so.
Is there something you intend to do about that in the Senate?
Well, certainly we've been pushing for a moratorium on coal seam gas. A lot of the responsibility is on the state government, but there is a role for the federal government to step in. At the moment, our laws are quite siloed, so there's only certain things that the federal minister can consider when he's assessing coal seam gas. I'd like to push for those considerations to be broadened so that the groundwater impacts, the food security impacts, the impacts on rural communities can be considered when the federal government's looking at whether to tick off on these industries.
Should live cattle exports be banned completely?
Look, we are pushing for an immediate ban to live cattle exports. The Four Corners story was absolutely horrifying, and if people had the guts to watch it, then, you know, they're doing better than I did. I know how horrific those slaughterhouses are, and we have a responsibility to make sure that both our producers but also our cattle are being looked after here. And in fact, there's more jobs and there's more money to be made for Australia if we keep that production onshore rather than offshore.
Queensland cattle producers say, though, that a ban isn't the answer. Shouldn't you go into bat for them as well?
Well, look, I'm certainly interested in hearing more from them and hearing about their concerns and seeing if there's a way that we can find a middle ground. But at the moment, we are pushing for an immediate ban to live exports. It's not acceptable for our animals to be treated like that, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a Queenslander who disagreed with that.
When you consider any piece of legislation, will you consider yourself as a Queensland senator first and consider the state's interests first, or do you consider yourself a Green senator and toe the party line?
Well, I'd like to think that I'll do both. I mean, I've been elected as a Green senator for Queensland by the people of Queensland, and I've been elected on the basis of the policies that we put to the people. So they know what the Greens stand for, and that's what I stand for, and I'm in the happy situation where I agree with all of our party's policies. That's why I'm a Green. So I'm hoping that I will always be able to do both.
Larissa Waters, thank you.
Thanks very much.